Let's talk tools and materials. For this class, to make your bookmark, you will need about 6 grams of fingering weight yarn. The yarn I'm using for the class is Hobby Rainbow 100% cotton, and that's fingering weight yarn. You will need 3mm crochet hook, darning needle to weave in your ends, pins to block your project, scissors to cut your yarn. You might also need an optional stitch marker if you would like to take a break from your project. So we would use this to hold the last loop on the hook. You might also need water bottle to block your project, or an iron or steamer if you have one, and also a laundry starch. To begin our project, we need to create a slip knot. So we take the short tail of the yarn, we place it on our fingers and wrap it around and pull it through the middle. And pull, pull, pull. You create a loop into which you will insert the hook and tighten it slightly. You don't want to tighten your loop too tight because you will need to create stitches that will be going through the loop, but you don't want to have it too loose because this would make it slip off your hook. So we'll find a nice balance between too tight and too loose. You will then chain 14. To chain, we wrap the yarn around the hook, like so. So we will wrap the yarn from outside in around the hook and pull it through the loop which is on the hook. This counts as a chain 1, and we need to repeat this 13 more times. So we wrap the yarn around the hook, pull it through, that second chain, wrap the yarn, pull it through, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And so that's 10 chains. We need 4 more. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we've just created our foundation chain. We will now be working into this foundation chain, specifically into the top loops. So the anatomy of your chain is that there is a top loop, bottom loop, and if you turn your chain around, there is also a back loop or back bump. So crocheters have different preferences where they like to work. To work into the top loop is one of the easier ways, so you can begin with that and then consider starting your project with chains and working perhaps in the other loops and see whether you like the way your project looks. So at the moment we are going to be working into the top chain. Once we chain 14, we are ready to move on to the row number 1. So the first row starts with working double crochet stitch into the 4th chain from your hook. So the way we count chains is, this is the first chain from your hook, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So we will need to work into this top loop of the 4th chain. So again, this would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And into the 4th chain we will work a double crochet stitch. So double crochet stitch is worked by first yarning over the hook, inserting the hook under the loop, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we've got 3 loops on our hook. We will yarn over, pull through 2 yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your double crochet stitch. We will then chain 1, so we'll work yarn over and pull through, chain 1, and we will work a shell into the 5th chain. So we need to first count the 5th chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. So we will be working a shell into this very top loop, and shell consists of working 3 double crochet stitches, chain 2, 3 double crochet stitches, all into the same stitch or same chain in this case. So we first yarn over the hook, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook. We will then yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's the first double crochet. So we will work 2 more into the same space, yarn over the hook, insert into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's the second double crochet stitch. We need 1 more, so it's yarn over the hook, insert into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So this is the first half of the shell. We then chain 2, so that's yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and 3 more double crochet stitches into the same chain. So you will see that as you work more stitches into the space of the chain, it starts to grow, so it's very visible where you need to insert your hook and where you'll be working your stitches. So again, yarn over the hook, insert into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we need 2 more double crochet stitches to complete the shell. Yarn over the hook, insert into the chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and 1 more, yarn over the hook, insert into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that's our shell. We then chain 1, so yarn over the hook and pull through, and we will need to work 2 double crochet stitches into the 5th chain. So this will happen to be the very last chain. So if you count, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 that need to be skipped, and then work 2 double crochet stitches into the last chain. So to double crochet, we yarn over the hook, insert into the very last chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and 1 more to complete this row. So we will yarn over the hook, insert into the last chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Before we begin the row number 2, we need to turn our work, and in crochet, when you turn your work, you turn it away from you. So you will be turning this way around, and we will chain 3. Chain 3 is counted, we would count chain 3 as the first double crochet throughout the project. So every time you chain 3 on the edges, this counts as a double crochet. So to chain, we yarn over, pull through, chain 1, 2 and 3. We will then work a double crochet stitch into the same space. So yarn over, work into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We will then chain 1 and work a shell into the chain 2 space of the shell below. So this is our first shell of the row number 1, and we will be inserting hook into this space. So we will first yarn over, insert the hook into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and again yarn over the hook, insert into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That second double crochet will then yarn over the hook, insert into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll work chain 2, 1 and 2, and work 3 more double crochet stitches into the same space. Yarn over the hook, insert into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and 2 more, yarn over, insert the hook into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and the last double crochet for this shell, yarn over, insert into the chain 2 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We will then work chain 1 and work 2 double crochet stitches into top of the turning chain 3. So we'll need to find the chain that help us to turn the corner for the row below, and we will be working into the top of the chain, so this will be the chain 3. So when I look at my corner here, I can see that the loops of the chain were started here. So this was the first chain, 2 and 3. So we'll be inserting the hook under these 2 loops or strands of yarn here. We need to capture both, but not to work under the back bump or the back loop. So we need to insert the hook in between from front to back, like so. So we will yarn over the hook, insert the hook under the chain 3 of the turning chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we will work 1 more double crochet into exactly the same space. So yarn over the hook, insert the hook into the chain 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's it for row number 2. You will then turn your work and start row number 3. Row number 3 and the rest of the row. So this would be row number 3 to row number 16. A repetition of row number 2. So just to recap, you will chain 3, work 1 double crochet stitch into the same space as the chain 3, you will chain 1, work shell into the chain 2 space of the shell of the row below, chain 1, and work 2 double crochet stitches into top of the turning chain 3. And you will keep on going, repeating the row number 2 for the rest of your project. If you are using one color throughout, you will finish your project and then cut off the yarn at the end of row number 16 and weave in your ends. There is another option, and that is to add more colors into the bookmark. So I'm going to work few more rows, few more repetition of row number 2, and I'll meet you further down in the project where I'll show you how to change colors. Welcome back. I'm now going to show you how to change color. So to change color for this project is you will introduce the next color that you would like to work in next when you are on the last yarn over pull through 2 of the double crochet stitch on the edge of the project. So I'm now working the last double crochet. I have 2 loops on the hook, so I will need to take my color 2, and what I like to do is I like to just create a loop and hold it with my fingers like so. You can also make a slip knot. However, there is a knot as a part of the slip knot, and this might introduce a bulky texture into the edge. So if you are working a thicker textured fabric in crochet, this would not be a problem because it would blend in. However, because we are working lace, this would kind of stand out, so you don't want to have that like a bump on the side of your project. That's why we are just going to create a loop, hold up the loop with our fingers and pop the loop on the hook, pull through 2 loops with the green, and now we turn our project. As you turn your project, you can, to secure the yarn in the place, you can anchor it onto the color that you were just using by wrapping it around. So we've got quite a few tails here, so you will ignore this short tail with the new color. You would take the long tail, or the one that is attached to the yarn ball, and wrap it around the other color that you just dropped, and this will secure it in a place. So we will then chain 3, 1, 2 and 3 with the new color, and we will continue working the stitch pattern, which is the repetition of row number 2. So for me, now I would start working double crochet stitch with the new color, chain 1, working shell, which is 3 double crochet stitches, chain 2, 3 double crochet stitches, chain 1 and 2, and work 3 double crochet stitches in green, you will chain 1 and work 2 double crochet stitches into top of the chain 3, so that's 1 double crochet, and 2. You will turn your work and continue working in your other color. If you would like to change back, you will do that the same way once you get to the edge and work your last double crochet. You will change the color on the last yarn over pull through 2. Don't worry about the tails for now. At the end of the lesson, I'll show you how to weave these in, make them virtually invisible, so they wouldn't disturb the look of your project. Once you finish the last row of your bookmark, you can leave the edge of your project as it is. It looks quite nice, but if you would like to add a little bit extra to make the edge of your project more pronounced and more stable while blocking, we can add a row of slip stitch to it. So slip stitch is a new stitch for us. We haven't had these ones in the lesson so far. So as we finish the last row, we then turn the project around and we will chain one. So we will yarn over and pull through like so. And then we are going to go into the next stitch, or the next, which will be the chain on the last row. We will insert the hook under both of the loops on the top like so. So you will have 2 strands of yarn on your hook. You yarn over, pull up a loop, and you will pull the loop through the one on the hook like so. Okay, and we will repeat this for each stitch or each chain in between the stitches. So we will go under each of the V's on the edge of your project. So let's do another one together. So very slowly we are going to insert the hook under both loops or both strands of yarn of the stitch, yarn over, pull through the loop on the hook, and into the next one, insert the hook under both loops of the stitch, yarn over, pull through the loop on the hook. So let's make the next few at a pace, pulling through so that we carry only one loop on our hook at any one time. Working the slip stitch row is an optional addition. As I mentioned earlier, you might leave the edge as it is, finishing with the last row. Once we get to the end, we also will be working into the very last 2 stitches, which was a double crochet and then the chain 3. So as we were working into the top of the chains 3 previously, we will also locate the 3rd chain. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. This would be my 3rd chain, the top. I'm going to insert the hook under the 2 strands of yarn of the chain 3. Repeat yarning over, pulling through on the loop on the hook. I will now cut my yarn as I've completed the additional row of my project. Cut the yarn and pull through. So you might want to leave a tail which is about 8 to 10 inches to make it easier to weave this in and to give it the stability to make sure that your project is not going to unravel. Now we have our bookmark ready. We just need to add some finishing touches to it. So what we are going to do now, we will be weaving in the ends, so you will not have these unruly yarn tails attached to the bookmark, and we will shape it by blocking it. To weave in your ends, you will take the darning needle and you will thread it on So the aim of weaving in the ends is to first to hide the long tail, but also to secure it, to make sure that your project is not going to unravel. So there's no hard and fast rules how to do this. Each person who crochet have got their preference. So what I like to do, I like to go into the stitches and between the stitches, sometimes inserting the darning needle through the actual strand of yarn to make it more stable and secure. So what I would do in this case, I would go under one strand of yarn, over another one, and through third one, like so. So again, I would find strands of yarn that are close to where my yarn is attached to the project. I would go under one, the first strand, over the second, and through the third, like so. So we can go in one direction going forward. So we are going to go under, over, and through. And you can decide to go then down or going back for added stability. So I'm going to go under one strand, over another, and through the next one. Once you do that a few times, so once you are done, you can then take your scissors and cut it close to where it is attached, like so. We then repeat this with all the other strands as well. Once we finish weaving in the tails, it's time to block our project. Blocking really helps to make the project look just slightly more better than you would have it without, and that is crucial for lace projects. So blocking helps to open up the lace and really emphasize the stitches. You will need some pins, your project, and a blocking mat. If you don't have blocking mat, you can use old towel and it would work just fine. The blocking mats have advantage that they have these guiding lines that help you to keep the edges of your project straight. So what we are trying to do is just that. We are trying to straighten up the edges and give the project uniformity. So how I like to start blocking is I would like to first get the edges into shape and then work my way between these. So I'm going to start at the bottom. So I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I do have blocking mat and it helps me to create a nice and crisp edge. So I would start here, then stretch the project a little bit, but not too much. The edges of your project usually stretch just slightly more than the rest of the project, so you don't want to stretch it too far, because then you will have to be applying the same amount of stretch to the rest of the project and it might not work out. So I pull it slightly, but not too much. So this is the bottom of the chain and stitch, so I'm going to insert my pin there, and then I'm also going to use one in between to keep this edge of the project straight. There is no right amount of pins that you use, but what I found is it's better to use more pins than less, especially if you are trying to shape the edges. Okay, so I've done the bottom. Now I'm going to go to the top of the project, straighten it. Blocking also helps if you make the project just a little bit too small and you use yarn which is fairly bouncy, you can extend the project in the dimensions by a few centimeters and sometimes even a few inches. So I've inserted 2 pins on the top. I'm also going to guide this edge to the specific shape I want to achieve. So once you've got the top and the bottom pinned, you can now progress with the edges. So I prefer to use more pins, especially if they are part of projects like here where there are bits pulling slightly in. So I want to guide it along the straight line, inserting the pins as I go along. If you use 100% cotton for your bookmark, cotton doesn't usually give in very much, but if you use acrylic or wool, this yarn allows you to stretch it quite a bit, especially if you are wet blocking. So I've got the left edge of the project pinned down. As you can see, now I've introduced some extra tension in the right edge. So I will need to make sure that in order to keep the edge straight, I will need to perhaps use a few more pins. Now we have our project pinned down. We can progress to the next and final stage, which is blocking. So there are several methods that you can use. The two most common are wet blocking and steam blocking. For wet blocking, you can either soak your project in the water before you pin it down, or you can use a spray bottle and spray the project and soak it nicely once it's pinned down. The disadvantage of this method is that it takes considerably longer for the project to dry up, and you wouldn't want to take it off the blocking mat before it's completely dry, because it would basically defeat the purpose of blocking. The second method, the most common second method, is steaming. So you would pin down your project as we just did. You would take an iron on your steam setting or fabric steamer, and you will give it a good blast with the steam, so much so that it would feel damp on the touch. But please be careful, don't touch it right away after you steam it, because you can burn yourself. So you would steam it, and then you will let it sit on the blocking mat until it's completely dry. What steam blocking does is that it softens the fabric quite a bit. So this might not be a property that you want your bookmark to have. You might want to have a bookmark which is slightly stiff to be able to mark the pages properly. So an additional step to this would be then use the laundry starch after you block your project. So after it is in a shape, you will then apply laundry starch whichever way you prefer. Once your project is completely dry, you will then take all the pins off and you are ready to use it.